Right, it's 6 o'clock. We will continue our March 18th Board of Selectmen meeting. I would invite everybody to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome again, everybody. Just as a housekeeping note, I want to welcome Andy to the Board of Selectmen. He was sworn in prior to the meeting because we did have a non-public session before this. So,
thank you.
Welcome. Looking forward to working with you again.
Thanks.
First on the agenda, we have public comment. So open up to public comment. I'm not seeing any public comment. It's going to be the easiest public comment from the Board of Selectmen, I think, since I've been on it. So we will close that. Move on to new business. First up is swearing in of newly elected officers, board, and committee members. So I will invite everybody that is here to be sworn in to actually stand up here and face the camera, and I'm going to stand in front of everybody and for everyone in it.
It's a mess. It's a mess.
Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're good. You can stand back in the home.
Balance it out.
All right, if everybody raise your right hand. I, and state your name. Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear
That I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform all duties incumbent
all duties incumbent
on me as a state according to the best of my abilities, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire. So help me God. Thank you. Well,
Wait, please.
And
Any signatures from everyone?
So everybody,
Wait a minute, Humphrey.
to come up here and fill out their form and sign.
They were all in line. We messed you up.
It's a very strange day when I don't have a pen in my pocket.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Somebody's back.
You are signing.
Right there.
Yeah, that's it. I'm done.
After
Yep.
that, I'm gonna sign.
Just easy. Yes. Okay, thanks.
You're studying.
Message to someone. I have no idea. Okay. You were supposed to I didn't see it. Thank you very much. Today's 18th.
You got the 8 on all these.
That's not my paper.
Oh. I got you.
I'm not taking responsibility for that.
You got one for you.
What do you do with
That's all we need to do, huh?
What did I do with it?
No, what did Ryan just do with it?
He's got some over
Oh,
here.
Yeah.
you gave it.
Okay, so
Did you sign it for me?
I did.
Yep, that's it.
that's it.
That's it.
I gotta get this back today. I don't think I'm a thief.
Why don't you just stay there?
Okay, I will.
There we go.
You have this one
Pen.
and this one.
Good. All right. All set. So next up is reorganization of the Board of Selectmen. This is where the board needs to decide chair, vice chair. And then next up we get the committee assignments. So.
Fearless leader. I'll nominate you to remain on this chair.
All right, I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And vice chair?
I'll nominate Aaron.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next up, Board of Selectmen Committee and Board assignments. So we have Budget Committee, Planning Board, Zoning Board of Adjustment, Economic Development Committee, Recreation Commission, and School Board. So, and just to be clear, the only statutory ones we have to be on is Budget Committee, Planning Board, and then the way the Rec Commission is set up, there's one member from the Board of Selectmen on that. Economic Development Committee, is that one set up the same way as the Rec Commission? I don't
It is,
recall.
isn't it?
It's in their bylaws.
It's an
An ex
advisory
officio.
committee.
Okay. So. Discussion from the board.
Well, as much as it pains me, Mr. Carrier, to leave the Budget Committee, I would like somebody else to take over the Budget Committee. I've done it 2 years, 1 year as a Budget Committee member, and then last year as the ex officio. And I'd like to get somebody else.
I've been on the planning board the last 2 years. I've been told that typically that person stays on for the full term. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I don't mind continuing on the planning board.
The planning board's the only one where they say that. I looked up I read all the RSAs on it just to make sure. Like, I was going to nominate Bruce to take over on the ZBA as if we had to have somebody on the ZBA, I was going to ask if Bruce would be willing to step up and be our person to do the ZBA and report to us. So I was reading up on the RSAs, and planning board was the one that, and you've done well at it.
So
If you don't have an objection, I mean.
I don't have an objection to it. The only thing I will say, if I continue on the planning board, I'm going to have to cut it at that because of time commitments. I'm not going to be able to.
I'd like to do recreation and economic development. Recreation is something I did for 14 years. I think it's something that I'd like to see more programs and bring more things to the table for the town. I think it's something that I'd really like to do. And economic development, we're just kind of getting on.
I know currently Andy is a alternate for the Rec Commission. And he has been.
Yeah, no, I think it's
I
fair,
know.
Aaron. You've been on the budget committee. It's a tough committee. It's you know, you get a lot of time invested in the budget committee. So I can see where you probably want a little break.
And you'd be willing to give me that?
I'd be willing to give you the break.
I'll refrain from hugging you in
Because,
public.
as much as I honestly enjoy recreation myself, it's always been in my heart since I've been in this town, but or for quite some time. But I truly understand where you can get burnt out. So I'll do budget committee then.
I appreciate it.
All right, so we have a consensus. Andy's budget committee. I remain on the planning board. Aaron will do the economic development committee and the recreation committee.
And I'll sit on the school board. It'd be something fun to learn, you know. So I'll do the school board.
So that just leaves the ZBA.
I mean, we technically don't.
Don't have to have.
And even the school board is just
Okay.
to stay
Right.
informed on what's going on. So.
Okay.
But if Mr. Woodruff would be willing to, I mean, I know we ask a lot of him, I don't know if it's something that he could do, or...
Well, the thing that strikes me is he's staff, and he's serving the planning board, and his.
I hope you're not asking me to sit on this.
No. It's not a sit-down, it's just an advisory to come back to us with...
If you would like me to do that, I respectfully request that you make a motion to name me as the staff advisor to the zoning board.
Does anyone have a problem with that? I mean, I think...
So there'd be no conflict of,
Not as staff.
okay.
Town staff routinely services all the various land use boards. So I would see that as wholly appropriate.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to appoint Bruce Woodruff to the Zoning Board of Adjustment as a liaison between the Board of Selectmen and the ZBA.
A second.
Is that just,
As,
okay.
as staff liaison,
Advisor?
staff advisor.
That's fine.
Right. All right, so we get a
second.
motion, a second?
Yep.
Roll call, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving right along. Next up, Board of Selectmen bylaw discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just thought where you were doing the reorganization and such, it might be an appropriate time for the board to review the bylaws of the Board of Selectmen and decide if you have anything you want changed at this time, and if not, just to recommit to following those for the following year, for the coming year.
So, I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't really had a chance to go through these again. Obviously, I've been through them several times. I guess my personal recommendation would be that we review them, and at our next meeting, either talk about changes we want to make and then hopefully approve them. And I also think it would be maybe a good time to just kind of go through them in public, so the public has an idea what's in here and what we're going to follow.
So bring them back to the next meeting, you're saying?
If the board
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Agreed.
no problem
Okay.
with that.
All right, next up, Board of Selectmen recording clerk agreement approval.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding that the Board of Selectmen has a contract with the recording clerk and that it needs to be renewed annually. And if that's the case, then you have the agreement there in front of you, and Danielle's here. She can answer any questions about it.
Yep, this was something that was started last year to make sure everybody was on the same page. I'm good with it. Comments from the, or discussion from the board?
Yeah, no, I'm good with it.
I'm good. I just have one question that Judy's highlighted here. You highlighted?
Just stating, and it reflects back to your bylaws.
Okay.
Your current bylaws.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion to approve and sign the,
Is it just one signature on there, right?
so it would be to approve you as the chairman to sign on behalf of the board.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving right along, 2019 town election result discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, of course, the election was last Tuesday, so I thought the board might want to have some discussion about the results of the town election. Of course, the town's operating budget was defeated, along with a couple of other warrant articles. I am told that there have been recounts requested for two articles, one on the town warrant and one on the school district warrant. So the one on the town warrant is the one that had to do with the town buildings capital reserve account, which failed by 3 votes. So there will be a recount. The town clerk, I think, is planning on doing that this Saturday. Is that correct? That's basically all I have to report. I didn't know if the board would have any other comments about the election results.
Michelle, who has to be there? Michelle, who has to be there for the recount?
For the town recount, the board is considered the town clerk, the moderator, and the board of selectmen.
And what time is it? 8 a.m.?
Saturday, 8 a.m. here in the chambers. The school will also be doing their requested recount at the same time to save the moderator some time.
How long be able to make that?
You can appoint someone else to be in your stead.
Okay.
Just make sure they get sworn in.
Sworn in to
They'll
be my...
stepping in as a selectman.
And we have to swear them in for that?
Same as we do for elections.
Okay.
If you don't show up at the polls, we swear someone in.
All right. Thanks.
Are you going to be there?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to be able to
Yeah, no, actually, I talked to Michelle.
Okay.
It's, yeah, where I was on the ballot.
Can't be.
Yeah.
There's a disagreement on, not a disagreement, but there is an interpretation of the RSA regarding someone who's been on the ballot. And I think that he can be there. We're just getting clarification.
Gotcha.
So if the clarification comes through and you're able to be there,
Yeah.
are you both be? So that'll be a majority, and that will cover us, right?
It doesn't say majority, it says the board of selectmen. It's going to take a couple of hours to count these ballots by hand.
Michelle's bringing coffee, though.
Michelle's bringing a smile, and that's it.
It's a quorum, though, so.
Right.
Yeah, it's the board of selectmen.
Board of Selectmen. Okay. Any comments or discussion about the election results from the board?
Nope.
Dave, anything further?
Nope.
Okay.
I gather that the town departments know the routine about what to do with their budgets when the operating budget fails, as that's happened a few times here, I'm told.
All right, next up, we have 2 requests for approval of motor vehicle registration fees abatement.
Right.
Michelle?
These come from the town clerk. The first is a refund in the amount of $809 to Kenneth Chadbourne due to an error in the date of his motor home model. Did I state that correctly?
His motorhome was registered as I believe the documents say, a 2017 when it should have been registered as 2015.
I'll make a motion to approve and sign the abatement to refund the motor vehicle registration fees in the amount of $809 to Kenneth Chadbourne, as requested by the town clerk.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And the second one is similar. It's an abatement in the amount of $89 to Constant Lander for an unused vehicle registration.
I'll make a motion to approve and sign the abatement to refund motor vehicle registration fees in the amount of $89 to Constance Lander as requested by the town clerk.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We good with just one signature on that?
Yep.
All right, next up, Durgan Fund reimbursement for Veterans Park project.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is just some follow-up paperwork here. This project has been done. The bills have been paid, and it was paid out of the town's general fund, so we're just seeking to make the general fund whole at this point by reimbursing it from the Durgan Fund, I believe it's called. And so it's just a technicality, basically.
On June 26th last year, the trustees of the trust fund were given, or the town administrator at that point, here, I'll pass this over. But this should have been taken care of last June, July.
I understand that it was supposed to have been done, but apparently was never.
Yeah.
Well, Michelle's volunteering here.
Right.
I'll let her explain it.
Just for clarification, that request that you have on your agenda, first of all, did not come from me. I did not give that request to you. What happened was on May 7th, the Board of Selectmen approved $1,500 from the Durgan Fund in order to be used in the Veterans Park. On June 26th, we requested, Friends of the Veterans, requested a reimbursement for the cost from the trustees of the trust fund, from the Durgan Fund. On July 31st, the trustees denied it. They sent it back to me. They said, I don't have the authority to request that. That I have to do my request through the general fund, through the town, to reimburse those two people. The town did do that, and then the town was informed that once those people were paid, that they had to do the request through the Durgan Fund. The next thing I heard was on August 6th, I had a request from the former TA requesting copies of the receipts because they've been misplaced. And then on September 17th was when it was resubmitted. So that should have all been taken care of in 2018 through the Durgan Fund. It's just one of those things that slipped through the cracks again.
I don't throw anything away. I didn't throw our papers and found that one.
The figures don't match. This doesn't match this.
It doesn't?
It's not off by much, but it doesn't match.
Do you want to see what they should be? Because I'm the one who originally submitted it to the town from the general fund. I believe Cameron's was $1,083. And I believe Elizabeth LeClaire was $161.88.
Which is what's on this paperwork right here.
So
This
This is saying-
Where's it not matched, Brian?
that one's different than this one, isn't it? 1,223.41. This is saying
So-
1,244.88.
Well, if those are the correct figures that she gave, yes, it would be 1,244.88 rather than the figure that was written here on the form.
Okay.
There is a note in there. We discussed this a little earlier with Kathy. If you look at the actual receipts, not the check request, you can tell that the receipts are a different amount. It's a difference of 8 cents, 80 cents.
So
I
which,
have $73
$8
on one, $59 here, and $29.88 on this.
so which is the correct amount that we're asking the board to approve?
From the discussion that Michelle, Kathy, and I had to fill out this paperwork, it was determined that the trustees of the trust funds go off of the receipts, not the paid check request.
The receipts,
The
I got
receipts add up.
$73.59 and $29.88.
Which comes to 161.88.
Yeah,
It's the 29.80. It's not 88. That's a 0.
And then on Cameron's bill, it says 1,061.61.
that looks like an 88 somewhere.
You have the ability to put in the request and the payment that you choose. It's up to the trustees of the trust funds to decide if they're going to accept it or not.
I mean,
They base their funding return on the receipts, not what was paid out.
the lower left.
It's 8 cents.
Well, I hate to take up the board's time and the public's time while we're feuding
Hash
over a
over
few
8
cents
cents.
here, so I don't know what the board's pleasure is, if you want to bring this back after we've clarified the right amount, or...
Or I have a blank form and you can sign the other amount that you...
So I get the 161.88. But then Cameron's, we have 2 bills here. 1,083, and then we get a balance, another 21.39.
What's a credit?
You got your calculator there?
It doesn't come out to, all right, still doesn't come out right. Come out to 12.02. So what do we want to do? So we don't have to waste any more time.
Go ahead and ask for a check reimbursement from the trustees of the trust fund in the amount that Michelle requested here on the form.
Okay,
And Michelle's nodding yes, so
Yep.
you putting it in motion?
I'll put in a motion to go ahead and
I'll second it.
So
do
the
that.
amount
and
of
Andy's-
$1,244.88.
$1,244.88.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm just gonna, how you, sorry. Isn't that from her?
I don't know where that came from.
All right, next
Okay.
up, approval of payment to JS Marine Vinyl Works, Chief Kraus.
Yeah, hopefully this one won't be quite so complicated. The chief is looking for the board's approval to pay for the striping of the new cruisers out of the police detail account, which the board of selectmen are the agents to expend for that account, so he needs your approval.
You're the expending agent from that account. As you guys remember, Andy, you won't, but from the 2018 CIP for the replacement of the 3 frontline cars, to keep the lease payment the exact same so that the budget item didn't go up, we were going to pay for the striping and a couple of other pieces of equipment for the cruiser out of the detail account. This is just for you guys signing off on paying for the striping, which is $1,425 for all 3 of the cars.
I'll make a motion to approve the payment to JS Marine and Vinyl Works the amount of $1,425 for striping new cruisers from the police department detail account.
Second it?
Any discussion from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. All right. Just 6:30. Do you want to do this town ordinance exception real quick?
Yeah, it won't take but a
We shouldn't
minute.
take too long. All right, next up, town ordinance exception requests.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I gather this is an annual request by a local contracting company to take their trucks out on the local roads during mud season, basically.
Yep. Any comments or discussion from the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the request of Pay Construction for an exemption from Town Ordinance 00-01, an ordinance regulating heavy hauling over town roads during the upcoming mud season.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next up is discussion with the Atlantic Broadband representative.
Yes, we have with us this evening Ed Merrill. He's the general manager for Atlantic Broadband for this region. He provided some documents that I sent out to the board, revised copies of the proposed new franchise agreement for cable TV services, with a new signature page that has signature slots for 3 selectmen instead of just 1, the way it was set up before. And he also provided a side letter of agreement relative to internet access services for certain town departments and facilities. And with that, I don't know if I need to do any further introduction or if you're ready to roll here.
I am. I have a very brief presentation just to go over who we are and what we're doing. And I do have a few extra for the audience. So.
Thank you.
And after I go through this, I'm available for questions and comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll grab one. I'll put some
Oh, that's
here.
nice of you. Here, okay, let me,
Thanks.
I'm taking yours.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, board members and chairman. Anyone else interested? All right. Atlantic Broadband is a publicly held company, and on January 4th of last year, 2018, Atlantic Broadband purchased MetroCast Communications, and it bought all of its systems. And Atlantic Broadband is the parent company is Cogeco Communications. Cogeco is the 4th largest communications provider in Canada. The Atlantic Broadband corporate office is based out of Quincy, Massachusetts. Atlantic Broadband was founded in 2003, and they're the 9th largest cable operator. 9th is pretty much down the ladder as far as size. ABB currently has over 1,250 employees, 450,000 residential and business customers in 11 states. We're pretty much up and down the East Coast from Maine to Florida. In our New Hampshire, Maine footprint, we serve 29 communities. We passed 95,000 homes. We have 230 full-time employees. 160 of those employees work in our Rochester office. We have $2.6 million annually invested in payroll and employee benefits. We have 2,880 miles of cable plant to serve our 29 communities. Of that, 1,035 is fiber optic cable, and each year we invest more into fiber optic cable so that we push our fiber optics further and closer to the home. In the next 2 years, ABB plans on spending $27 million in capital expenditures just on the New Hampshire main system, upgrading it to the newest technology as far as internet is concerned. ABB provides over $54,000 a month in courtesy video and internet accounts to municipal buildings and offices in the communities where we provide service. We provide over $5,000 a month in discounts and services for nonprofit groups. We contribute over $25,000 annually to local charities and events. The next page is just basically it shows the communities that we serve in New Hampshire, and you'll see that most of those communities are up around the Lakes region. In the Rochester region and what Milton is part of, we serve 5 communities off our Rochester system, and we serve 5 communities in southern Maine. The rest are up around Lake Winnipesaukee. Atlantic Broadband in Milton, we passed 2,295 homes. We have 1,469 subscribers. We have 80.2 miles of plant to service those subscribers, and 42 miles of fiber optic cable in the system. The next slide is just a handout that says that our basic business for residential customers is video, internet, and phone. We have a number of packages in each one of these areas, from the very basic all the way up to for home service now, which really represents the money that and the investment that Atlantic Broadband has put into the New Hampshire system. We now provide 1 gig service for residential homes throughout our footprint, throughout our area, so customers can get up to 1 gig service in their homes. We have changed our platform for video. We have the newest TiVo-based platform for our video products, which allows for a voice remote, so you can talk into your remote and get what you want. Multi-room capability, watch what you're watching in one room, pause it, go to another room and pick it up. It records up to 6 shows at once. It downloads your video to any device that you have inside your home, so you can take it not just on TVs, but on tablets. It also allows you to download programming onto your mobile devices and take them out of your home and take it out of your home. We also have direct connections to products like platforms, over-the-top platforms like Netflix. So you don't have to go through a Netflix box. You can go through our converter. Part of our system that we rolled out last week is now we have downloaded, and you can download the app that will allow Alexa to operate your TV. So from anywhere in the room, you can just talk to Alexa, and you can do things like change the channel, change the volume, pause. And the other product that we've introduced within the last year is enhanced Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi has been one of the issues that a lot of people deal with in their homes, and we have a product now that allows you to place our extenders throughout the home, no matter what home you're on, no matter what level you're in, that allows you to have direct access to the internet. And our last page just highlights the fact that we have 1 gig service available to our residential customers, not just to business customers, but to residential customers. And at the bottom, there's a little graph that shows you what you can do with the different speeds that you have in your house, or what you need to have. And on a recent survey, they found that more than homes now have more than 10 mobile devices in their house. And so the higher speed supports more devices that you have. So that's just basically who we are, what we do. We've been ABB, like I said, since January, and we have done a lot of work with the system, and it reflects a lot of investment into the system with our technology. So I'm available for questions and comments.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you coming in. First, I'll open up to the board, and then I'll open it up to public. So, does the board have any questions or comments?
I have one, and Dave kind of enlightened me earlier. I know that a lot of towns do have the town channel where they broadcast their meetings. We use YouTube to do that, but I know that there's a lot of towns that have, you know, their own channel. They put up things for rec department, etc., everything that's going on in town. And like I said, Dave enlightened me a bit on it, but I'd like to hear from you, and so everyone can hear what the benefits, what's the cost, how is it paid for, etc.
I think that many, like you said, many of the cities and the towns that we serve are putting it up on YouTube. And that actually gives people that don't have our cable television access to watch these. And I think that that's more and more cities are going to it. If you had your own channel, basically it would be channel 25 or channel 26. You'd be responsible for putting the programming on it, but it would be available on our basic programming just like all of our other programming. So people that wanted to watch it on their TV could just go to that particular channel. But more and more cities are getting away from that because people have choice, and it gives them better access to carrying that. But we are investing, again, renewing the capital grant for equipment in this franchise renewal. So there's another $5,000 to upgrade equipment in this franchise.
So, you know, we're here to advocate for the taxpayers of Milton. And I hear almost on a daily basis that, unfortunately, the cable is mediocre at best. I hear complaints all the time about people that, you know, they're dropping cable. They don't have cable today. They, you know, so do you think by upgrading to this fiber optic, is that going to give better service to Milton? Because I think the service that we have right now is you know, like I said, you hear, you know, daily complaints about it, and unfortunately, they should complain to you folks, but unfortunately, they don't. So, what is your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, what I'd like to do also is provide, I have a form here, let's see where it is, that I can hand out so that you can give it to any customer out there that has an issue, and I can hand them out here. But the form basically, you know, if it's a specific problem with a customer's home, then they can contact me if they've gone through the regular route, and calling for service or calling for you know, issues with their bill. If they haven't got it resolved, they can contact me directly. This has my email address on it, my cell phone on it, and I will work with anyone that has an issue. As we talked about earlier, I'll just give this to you. And so there are some towns that just post that form on their website so that they can go directly to it. You can direct people to it, and I personally will work with them to make sure that anything gets resolved. We talked about earlier that we have over 3,000 miles of plant out there. It's out on the poles. It's electronic. We maintain that every single day. Are people going to have issues? They absolutely are going to have issues. What's important is that we make sure that those issues get resolved. And yes, more fiber into the community. The closer we get fiber to people's home, the more the more reliable the signal is going to be, because when you put fiber in, it takes more electronics out of the system. So, but I think if people have an issue, we will deal with those issues, and we fix issues every single day. So we can resolve problems, and we do.
Okay.
I have a question. You talk about the extenders and putting extenders in your home. What's the cost to the townspeople in that for an extender? I mean, I have Wi-Fi in my house. I shouldn't have to. I should be able to get it upstairs or in the back of the house. Have a good router.
It all depends on really what else is in the house and what else is operating. So wireless is one of the most difficult things to really make sure that it works throughout the house. So that's why we introduce these devices. Excuse me. I don't have the price for those devices right now, but it is on our website. So that's something that I can check on before I leave here. So it is available, and it is to address that issue. And a lot of times it could be what the house is made out of, where it is compared to where the rest of the devices are, how many devices are on at the time, what service you have.
I'm one person. I don't run a lot at one time, so.
I'd say call me.
Okay.
All right, Deb.
Yeah, just one last question. So from the last franchise to this franchise agreement, how is the town going to benefit from this franchise more? What's better in it for the town in this current franchise than the last franchise?
I think that franchising and franchise renewals have changed quite a bit. What's happened in the past is that companies would wait until the franchise renewal came up, and then they would introduce all the new technology, or they rebuilt whatever they need to do. That's not the case any longer. The case is that we're upgrading our technology constantly and investing in the plant constantly. We're not waiting for the renewal period to happen. So how does it benefit the community? It benefits the community by having this technology, the same technology that you're going to get in Boston or any large metropolitan area, right here in Milton. You're going to get 1 gig to your home. You've got a new video platform here. You get fiber out there. So having that service available to them.
I think if I may, Mr. Chairman, the main benefits to Milton of this new agreement are the $5,000 equipment grant, which will buy some new equipment for local broadcast purposes, and the internet service for the town facilities, which has been upgraded. Is that right, as far as speeds go? I think those are the main benefits. I can vouch publicly that I've had some dealings with Mr. Merrill in my former community where I worked, where we had I had a few instances where residents would call with an issue about why can't I get cable TV service when my neighbors just down the street have it, this kind of thing, and why can't I get it extended to my location and such. And I would call Mr. Merrill and convey these issues to him, and frequently they were able to accommodate the resident. Your old agreement, your franchise agreement, expired in October of last year. So you're currently, you have an expired agreement that you're under currently.
Mm-hmm. So the internet that the public buildings have now, the current internet they have now, is what they're going to get?
Yes.
Okay. And for some reason, we didn't add wastewater sewer?
There weren't any new locations added. They just re-upped the current locations, I believe. Isn't that right?
Yeah. I have a list of.
That's actually a public building, and they do have internet in there.
wasn't on there.
I guess that's the question. Would you be willing to entertain one additional
And
town
I have
department?
one other building that I think's, well, we also have the gatehouse.
Here are the current
Um,
conditions.
Yeah, I got this. So we also have the town beach gatehouse, which the town pays. The town pays, so that actually should be on this. And I must say, we have, I know it's a separate entity, but we have the Milton Water District. So there's three places there that I think that, that should be considered within this franchise agreement.
First of all, the reason that there's a side letter is that internet services are not included in the franchising process. So that's why it's not inside the franchise itself. But if the town sends Atlantic Broadband a letter, we'll consider providing service to those three buildings, as long as we don't have to, there's no construction costs to get to them. If there's construction costs in the city, if the city wants to pick that up, then we'll be able to provide service to them.
Okay, beautiful. Thank
All
you.
right. All right, so now I'm going to open this up to the public to allow them to ask questions. We have about 10 minutes before our next people are here to discuss one of the other items on the agenda, so I will just want to keep that in mind if we can keep the questions to the point. So start with Bruce.
Yes, Bruce Woodruff. The question I have really has to do with broadband capability and the analysis of who in Milton is either unserved or underserved with regard to broadband accessibility, and has Atlantic Broadband done that analysis?
We have, we just provided a map today to show our whole service area where we have. Also in our franchise, there is a formula. We build down to 10 homes a mile, and anything less than 10 homes a mile, there's a formula in there for a contribution for construction expenses to provide service to that to the home that goes down there.
And because there probably are roads where there are less than 10 folks per mile, do you have an idea on how many people cannot get service now unless that extra money was kicked in?
I don't, but I do have the number of homes passed that we passed in town here, and that's in here.
Yeah, 2,295 homes
So I'm not quite
passed.
sure how that is compared to.
Well, allow me a comment. This is for your benefit as well. It's also for the benefit of the Board of Selectmen. The comment that I have is that broadband companies have gone beyond the pale of being something that you might want. They really are more akin to a utility today. I know they're not. I know the Utilities Commission does not recognize you as such, and so you're not governed by any of the rules of a Public Utilities Commission. But really, I guess what I'm asking is, there really should be a plan to make it so that everyone is served in a franchise community, and that should be in the franchise agreement. There are folks out there that are either underserved or unserved, and this is very important. It's something to consider for both sides here on the franchise agreement.
First of all, I'd like to comment if I could. 10 homes a mile, building down to that, is one of the fewest areas that any cable company will agree to. So I mean, there's a physical cost to building.
Yeah.
The other point was, you're absolutely correct. We're not a utility. Utilities get money paid into them to build out to those rural areas, where we're a private company and we don't get those funds. So our business is built on rate of return, where a utility is based on the investment from the state or from the federal government to build out to lower.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is that other communities have invested some of their tax dollars into a fund called a broadband fund, and then they would use that broadband fund towards these goals. And I think it's very important to consider. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Bruce.
Lynette McDougal, is this a sole source contract? Did we look anywhere else, or is this the only one?
There's no ability to
That's what I was wondering.
bid this out. This is all governed under the Federal Telecommunications Law, which was passed back in, what, the 90s or somewhere?
90s, yep.
And so this whole thing of franchising is the result of that law, and municipalities can't really change companies. For one thing, they've made it in the law as you would have to demonstrate that they're not meeting.
I'm just asking if there's, if there was any kind of.
Right.
I'm not-
The other thing is that they have invested a lot of money in serving this community. To get another cable company in here, they would have to invest a similar amount of money. And the only places where two or more cable companies operate in competition with each other are very densely populated communities like Boston, or some of the inner core suburbs, which are densely populated, and where the cable companies can rationalize each spending all that money to put up competing systems. So that obviously we don't have that kind of density here.
So if I could also follow up, Mr. Owens is correct with that it's really about density and the investment in it, but this is a non-exclusive agreement, and any cable company at any time can come in here and request another franchise.
Thank you.
And they're doing that right next door with TDS, but TDS is only building out to the areas where they serve telephone. So it's right next door. It's in New Durham and Alton and Barnstead. So they're out there, but they're not going to go to where they don't already have telephone service. We're seeing competing cable company now in Rochester, but that's a much more densely populated area. So.
That's what I wanted to know. Thank you. Thank you.
Surely.
Chief Grouse and then Humphrey.
So you said that the town buildings are going to get upgraded internet service. Do you know what that upgraded internet service is? And so the police department, we pay $153 a month already for the highest level business services for our internet. Is that something that's the service you're putting everybody up to,
No,
or is that something
we're
that we
putting
still pay?
the municipal buildings up to 50 by 5. You're at 200, but you get $50 credit toward your bill for the difference. So
will that be more of a difference than what we already receive, or is it the same as what we were already receiving?
It's the same credit, but the other buildings are getting there. They're going from 20 to 50.
Okay.
Humphrey.
In relationship to what Chief Kraus was talking about, a lot of the communities, I'm not saying that you guys serve, but franchise fees and things like that the customers pay are supposed to provide that type of service, aren't they? Aren't we already paying for it, and now he's paying extra?
No.
How come that's not included, is what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay. First of all, internet service is not part of the franchise agreement, so it's separate of that. It's a separate service, and it is regulated differently. And you will have the ability to collect franchise fees here, up to 5% of our revenue on video services. But the town so far has elected not to collect any services. So we provide the grant for the equipment to put PEG access on, and we provide, in a separate letter, we provide the free internet services to the municipal building.
Okay, so they're getting the free service for the buildings, that was what I was asking. All right.
Well, I had one last question, if anybody else in the audience.
Chief Marie.
The fire department has the 50 currently.
Yes.
And we're paying $63, so that $63 will not be there anymore?
No, so I'm not sure what the services you're paying for. I will check that before I leave, but you should be getting 50 by 5 for no charge whatsoever. And if you're paying for anything more, if you select to get something more, then you get a $50 credit on your bill, so you get $50 taken off. You may not have the same service at the police station.
We don't, no, we have one down, or
Okay.
I don't know how many levels there are, but I guess my question is, right now, 20 was free, and if I had upgraded to anything, I would have been paying. Whereas, if I am currently paying for 50, that will then become free.
I wouldn't imagine that you're paying for 50 because we would have caught that and you wouldn't be paying anything, so I'll have to take a look at the account. So this is it.
Okay.
If the fire department is getting 50 by 5, then you're not paying anything. If you're getting something over 50 by 5, then you're going to pay the difference. But if you wanted to go down to just 50.5, you can.
I guess I'll call you.
Okay.
All right, Andy, you had,
Yeah, so what do you currently have now, Nick?
I can't answer that question, or else I would have had more questions.
I think it's on that list that I handed.
I know my monthly bill is $63. And it's upgraded from the old station to the new station, because it wasn't
Oh,
enough.
so he has a 100 by 10.
I didn't have that list.
Do you want this?
Yeah.
The side loader?
Yeah, you have 100 by 10.
Okay, so that's what the difference. Instead of, you're paying for 100 by 10 versus 50 by 5. But if you wanted to go down to 50 by 5, then you'd be able to, at no charge. So you're getting a $50 credit now for that service.
So nothing's really changed from the old agreement to the new one, as far as the town.
No, the speeds have increased from 20 to 50. And now there's been a request for 3 more locations.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, I would have liked to seen at least the town buildings. I know, I understand we're saving some money, but I would have liked to seen, and I just got this paperwork over the weekend, well, Friday. I'm a newly elected selectman, but I really would have liked to honestly seen, I understand, it's gone up, the speed's gone up a smidgen, not really that much. I would have liked to seen something a little better for the town, but, if we can include the 3 buildings that I mentioned, because they're paying the internet right now, so.
Dave?
Well, if the board wants to, put this on hold to your next meeting, and we can make the request relative to the three additional locations, and see how that comes back, and or if you want to act on it tonight, conditional upon getting some approval on.
Could we
on those
go one
locations.
step further and try to get the current speed that the fire department and the police department are at included?
I think that we have a standard rate that we're providing municipal accounts, and it is 55 by 5. So.
All right, I just want to bring it back to the public because I never really closed out questions with them. So I see Chief Kraus and then go to
The
Nancy.
PD's at 250.
For
Nancy?
113 a month?
153.
153.
Nancy Wing. Right now, exit 17 is expanding and hoping to have several new businesses in the area soon. How will service expand for new businesses out of the general residential area?
We will, if there's any interest at all in a business that's down there, then we will build out to that. We'll build out to interest businesses. That's where our biggest growth is coming from right now. From our
And would
business.
that be a business pays for that construction for that to be located
It would,
there?
again, it would depend on what the business is, how many businesses are going down there, but we're pretty aggressive about moving down there. So the comment is, if it's a small business and it's just getting small business service and we have to build out 2 or 3 miles to get to it, then there'll probably need to be a construction contribution from that business. But if it's more businesses, and I haven't seen the plan, then what we will do is try to get into any new development that's down there, make sure that we're in, let's just say, common utility trenches when it's put in, so there are cables there, so that the prices aren't, you know, brand new construction going in. So I'll work with the city to get the plans for whatever's going to be put in down there. But when they do that, they usually put in the infrastructure first, which is the conduits and if it's going to be a park, I'm not sure what's going in down there.
Gas station right now, and hopefully index. Right now, there's a construction company contractor with the store. I was told I couldn't get MetroCast when it was there, so I have no cable right now, and no internet right now.
Here's my card. Give me a call and give me your address or email me your address.
Ask Nick how much you're paying.
We'll make sure we look at it again.
All right, I see Bruce has got his hand up, and then we'll try to go another 5 minutes to wrap this up in the next 5
I just
minutes.
wanted to comment on what Nancy's talking about here with regard to the convenience store and gas station that's being constructed right now. They were approved by the planning board under the previous site plan regulations, which did not require that the person doing that development install conduit or cabling for, you know, again, what I consider to be the 21st century's utility, and that's broadband capability. And so it really isn't in the plan, but the good news is the planning board has instituted new site plan regulations that do make that requirement incumbent on any new development that comes along. And then my question really had to do with the fact that I really am not, I'm not familiar with what the agreement talks about, but is there anything in the agreement that sets milestones for the replacement of the outside plant? In other words, going from the copper to the fiber. You're at 30% now?
Yeah, we're 40 miles here versus the 80 miles here, 50%.
Okay. Is there a schedule for the future of making those replacements?
We invest every year into it, but there's no hard schedule as far as.
Okay. Thank you.
Who knows? It may change in the next 5 years, the technology.
And one last question.
Yep, so just before we do that, is public, we good with public questions? All right, so I'll bring it back to the board and we'll wrap up.
Okay,
Go ahead,
thank
Andy.
you. So in the future, do you think for the residents of Milton, because I look at these blogs in Milton all the time and finding residents moving away from Atlantic Broadband, and do you think in the future that you could get it to be more cost effective where people would want to stay? Because unfortunately, I have seen a lot of people leave, and I was just curious. I mean, do you think you can find better buying power for the town, or?
I think that first of all, there are 6 content providers that own 90% of the content. We're retailers. We have to go to those content providers, and we have to pay them monthly for every customer that we have on there, that we have on our system, whether the customer watches that programming or not. And because there's 6 companies that own 90% of the content, they bundle that content. And if you want to buy something, you have to buy the rest of whatever they have if you want to continue serving it. What's happening right now, and people, you're absolutely right, people are moving away from the video portion of the cable TV product. And that's happening with Dish, with DirecTV, with every other provider that's out there. And customers now have a choice with over-the-top programming. So they have Netflix and Hulu and Amazon that they can go to and get their programming. I think that availability is going to blow up the current model that cable TV companies have to be under right now in order to buy all this bundling and not be able to provide a la carte or provide smaller packages. Right now, customers can go get, if you wanted to buy an NBC channel and hook it up to your TV, just that one channel, you can do it for $6 a month. Or if you want to buy one programming, if you go to HBO, you can buy one series. So that's happening. So customers are actually getting their a la carte programming or their programming by series, but not from us. And our expenses reflect what we have to pay for all of that programming that we put on our system. What I see is more and more people moving away from that, and more people using over the top, and hopefully that will make a big difference in the way that we're going to be able to buy our programming to continue to offer video.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
What's the board's pleasure?
What's the board want to do?
I think adding the 3 that Andy talked about in the side letter, adding the wastewater, the beach, and the water district. My opinion, he's going to talk to the chief about what he has and what's going on there.
What is this building using?
Somebody help me.
Oh, is that right here?
I'm not a technology person.
No, 420.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're 50, so we're
50 by 5, and business level with multi discount 100 by 10. So we pay 91 a month.
minus the 50 or no?
91 a month, and is that minus the 50?
That'd be minus the 50. All other places.
Okay. So 41 a month. And we have multiple locations in the building.
Okay. All right.
Again,
So-
just to make it clear on the on the request for 3, I have to get approval,
Mhm.
and if there's any construction cost, then the city will help pay for that.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
we'll let
Well,
you
we'll
know.
make the determination whether we'll go ahead and
Yeah.
do that.
yeah.
I we'll let you know.
all the locations currently have cable. I mean, currently have the internet.
Okay,
So,
then that's going to be easier.
yeah.
Okay, so do the board consensus, we want to wait until that letter's done and before we sign anything? Is that what I'm hearing?
Contingent on that, I would say.
I'm fine with that.
So bring it back after we go
Right.
through the letter and, okay.
And even if he
That-
gives it to you and it has the contingencies on it, I don't see why we couldn't put it in the.
So you want to make the approval contingent upon the response that we get?
I think that's the way to do it.
So in that case, you want to
Make
make a
the
motion
motion.
to approve subject or conditional upon,
Contingent upon the 3 buildings being added as wastewater, beach, and water district.
Yep. I'm fine with that.
All right, so we got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So we good?
I think so.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you coming in.
I'm just making notes to myself so I know what to do here.
Thank you.
So do we want to sign the agreement now or wait until we get the?
Wait till we get
Wait
the
till we-
letter and
okay.
then put it in our box.
No
and we
confusion.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Okay, next up, old business. Follow up on discussion of town-owned properties.
Yes, you'll recall we had the discussion at your last meeting, and the board decided that it had 9 properties that had, these are tax deeded properties that exceed the 3-year redemption period, and you wanted to go out to auction with those properties, and then you had 2 other properties, including the fire damaged property down the street here and the one next to Cumberland's that you wanted to see if it would be possible to add those to the auction list. As you'll see, your town council had some concerns about the property next to Cumberland's and suggested that the board may want to file a petition in court seeking quiet title to that property before going out to auction with that, because he's concerned that there may be questions about whether the town could get, title to it or not. So if that's agreeable, I'll have town council file that petition.
I'm good with it, the rest of the board.
Okay, and then relative to the other properties, we have the auctioneers here this evening. It's Jim, right?
Yes.
Jim St. James. And they have provided you a form of agreement,
Thank you.
which they would like to get your approval of. Now, I should mention, I have sent this agreement off to your legal counsel, town council, for review and comment, and of course I just sent that out today, so I haven't gotten anything back from him. So if the board does move to approve this agreement, you may want to make it conditional upon any comments or recommended changes that town council may offer relative to it. Very good.
Thank you. I'm Jim St. Jean. This is Scott Reed. Scott Reed works with us. My brother Jay is in Indiana at auction school, so he couldn't join us this evening. So we were here 4 years ago, as I recall, downstairs in the basement. So the setup's going to be identical to what we did 4 years ago. There's a good mixture of properties. We suggest, again, doing it on a Saturday, where all the townsfolk have a good chance of coming. And if I recall correctly, 4 years ago, we did some of the properties at absolute auction, which means there are no minimums or reserves. And then, because it was a big subdivision development, we sold that with reserve, and the select board decided whether to sell it or not for the price that we got. I think there were a couple members of the board here, and they okayed the number that we got at the sale, and we signed the purchase and sale agreement. And 30 days later, these properties were closed. The only two questions are, do we add the two properties, the burned out one, the one by Cumberland's? And David had mentioned to my brother Jay and I that there want to be some conditions perhaps on the burned out properties, like time frame of when the building will get fixed up and whatnot, which we can do that. We've done that for other towns.
Or demolished.
Quite well. So I mean, it's not a problem from our end. What we provided with you is the purchase and sale agreements that we would use at the sale, sign them, and then we sell these properties as is and where is, and make no contingencies for the people who buy these. And we remind people that at these tax deeded sales, banks don't finance these properties, so it's either going to be a cash buyer or somebody with a good friend that's going to lend them the cash to close in 30 days. It just has to work that way. It's very cut and dry. Scott's seen all the properties with my brother Jay, and if you have any questions about the properties, I dragged him along on a Monday night to be here.
Well, no, I mean, I was on the board when we used you, so I was actually downstairs. So I thought it was a very well organized auction. I think the town reaped from it. I think we made close to like $300,000, and all the properties got put back on the tax roll, so which was good.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's a win-win for the town to move forward with this.
I mean, our time frame is, if you folks want to do it, we can do it April 27th or May 4th, which are 2 Saturdays, and we're good to go at our end. We just need to get the abutters list, and we're off and running. you've got my brother put together the advertising and the Union Leader and the Sunday News and the Fosters and Portsmouth Herald, and that's what we used the last time. It worked out well. We had plenty of people. It was a nice crowd. It was a good mixture of people from the immediate area. There were some investors there, and that's all you can hope for.
The only thing is, if we could get the two properties, on Charles, and would that be enough time?
Well, the one on Charles, I think you can auction that, subject to, you'd have to put the conditions in there. Town council would have to put some conditions in there about making it subject to demolishing the existing structure within a certain time after it's purchased. The other one, I think you're going to have to wait until you can get clear title to it.
Did he give any indication on how long of a process that would be?
Well, it's a court process, and the courts are sort of slow.
Maybe next year at this time.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's one of the buildings that really should be priority.
Yep.
And then I guess the other thing is, I think in the past we talked about putting something on anything we sold with a house on it or a building on it, that something's done with it in a certain amount of time.
Okay,
So
well,
we'd have to make that decision now, because they're going to need to know that, I would imagine, for their advertising.
Right. Well, I think there's only 2 of the 9 tax deeded properties have structures on them, if I remember right.
Right. Yeah, Dawson Street and Spruce Lane each have houses.
The rest of them are just land. So if you want to put conditions on those, you certainly can.
Well, I also have a question about another piece of property too. So while we're talking about it, I want to talk about it. But I'll wait until. Yeah.
You look like you kind of grimaced about putting contingencies on some of these properties.
Oh, no,
Was it
not at all.
Okay, all right.
No. I think it's protect everything.
Right.
The last thing you want is for us to sell a property and then have nothing done with it.
Right.
It just
Okay.
it doesn't
I just
work.
wanted to make sure that.
Oh no,
okay.
no.
All right.
There are more towns do that than not.
Okay.
Because there's certain properties that are going to require the right person to buy it and to fix it up in a timely manner. It's not for everybody.
Correct.
And that will hopefully it'll keep the person away that thinks they can do it when in fact they can't. They don't have the wherewithal to do it.
Okay.
All right, so, I mean, I'm good with moving forward. I guess we'd have to have town council come up with.
So we can add Charles Street to it and wait on.
I believe you can, yes.
Okay.
I think we need to just confirm that.
Right.
That's my personal opinion. I'm not trying to speak for the
No,
board. So,
no. I'll make sure that we have it confirmed from the town council before.
And then some sort of conditions on the other 2 with.
Right. On 79 Charles, all 3 of those.
Yeah, and what kinds of conditions do the towns usually put on properties for?
They give them a certain time frame what has to be accomplished in 6 months or 9 months.
6 months or 9 months to do what?
It depends on the properties, what you folks want done to them.
Get a building permit or?
Yeah, in order to get a building permit and start construction on the property.
Okay.
Did you say, is it Scott?
Yes.
You went out and looked at the properties?
Yes.
Okay, so what would your recommendations be as far as?
For the one on Dawson Street, well, Spruce Lane actually wasn't that bad. Spruce Lane looked like it was in pretty good shape. I don't know how the interiors of the properties.
Right.
That one, to me, exterior-wise, I mean, I only took exterior photos. Looked move-in ready.
Not quite, but it's not too bad. I was in there about a year ago. It's not. It's probably the
good try, Scotty.
The best ones.
As moving ready as these properties.
I don't want to.
The one on Dawson Street looks like it needs some work. Definitely do siding in the interior. I don't know if it's safe to walk through. I mean, I did some peering through the windows.
I've never been in that
There was
one.
a major fire in it, so.
No.
On Charles Street, are we talking?
No, Dawson.
Oh, Dawson. Yeah, Dawson Street.
I've never been in that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a doable
Yeah,
place
I think
for.
it'd be a good project.
Yeah.
So what would you think, what would your, I mean, you've done this before, you've worked with other municipalities and that, so what would you say is a contingency, how long it should take them?
Timeline-wise?
Right.
I'd put 6 to 9 months is good. I mean, 30 days, that knocks off a month. And then they have pretty much the entire summer up and through the fall. So I'd say, yeah, 6 to 9 months. That's a good amount of time. You get good weather to do the work.
What do you want them to do in 6 months or 9 months? To actually do the work or just start the work?
Oh boy. Probably at least start the work, and then hopefully give them a year's time to finish it.
Here's my thought on this. All we worry about is the outside. That's what everybody
What they
sees.
live in on the inside.
If they don't do anything to the inside, what are people most concerned about? The outside appearance.
Right.
Yeah, but they gotta get an occupancy permit.
Right. That's what.
Mhm.
But if they got the outside cleaned up first and we're working on the inside as they went, I mean, even if they're not moving into it right away, they're.
And put something in there about
Right.
Still maybe a contingency to that, all right, they get the work on the outside done, but that they will eventually move in, or they might just do the outside and make it look pretty and then stop.
Right, but they're
And
gonna
so
have to get
an
building
OC.
permits.
If they have to have an OC, say within so many months after that to move in, at least you know your work is gonna be done.
Sure, sure.
That's a
I think if someone takes a project on like, like the one on Dawson Street, and if they dump a ton of money onto the outside, they're gonna wanna reap some of the benefits.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, it's my own personal thought, but I would,
A certificate of occupancy at 18
stick a
months.
ton of money into something and just,
Let's say it's not.
yeah, makes no sense.
Right.
So,
Okay, so I just took a note to myself here, see if this sounds right. 6 months to get a building permit and to start construction work, and 12 months to move in and occupy the building.
I think that's
Sure, yeah.
reasonable. Yeah.
Does that sound reasonable?
can you say that again? Say that
I think you
again,
want to
Dave,
start and
please?
complete work.
You want to tag that with something that the town has control over. And the thing that the town has control over issuing is a certificate of occupancy.
The occupancy permit.
So it would be 6 months to get a building permit, and then 12 months after that would be the
Occup-
issuance of the CO.
Occupancy permit. Okay.
So maybe, do we want to, because I don't think we're going to get the exact wording tonight, obviously, but
No, but
maybe
I'll
if Dave could work with, because I know Bruce being on the planning board, we put sometimes similar things,
Yeah.
and town council can all work together to
Yeah.
put
I'll-
something together
I'll
for us.
convey that to town council and we'll get some language drawn up.
We don't need the exact language before we start our ads.
Okay.
We just don't.
Okay.
We can cover it with some boilerplate language and then have it ready by sale time.
So our choice is to make the date of April 27th or May 4th. Yeah.
I mean, they're only a week apart, right, more or less.
Up to you folks.
So it doesn't really.
Can I just make note, you have your town cleanup day for the 27th?
That's true.
Not that it's a huge,
I say we
What
go
better
for
way
May.
to clean it up than an auction?
just a reminder.
Sorry.
So
I say we go for May,
May 4th.
would be mine.
Ready for it?
Now, Andy, the property you want to bring up nothing to do with this, or?
Well, it perhaps could, but it's not listed here. So I just want to bring it up, but they don't even have to really be here. They can, I mean, I don't want to hold them up.
I like listening to that cable stuff. I learned a lot.
Yeah. Well, you don't have Atlantic broadband, so God bless you.
All right, so I think we're good.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to approve and sign the auction agreement with this firm?
Yep.
Subject to town council's review?
For the,
What, if we just get a motion and we can hold off on getting your signature on it until we get the comments back from town council
Okay.
and see if there's any changes.
okay.
All right. So, got a motion? Okay. I'll make a motion that we,
Well, I don't understand. Do you want to sign this agreement tonight?
no, we want to make a motion.
I'd like to get approval for it to be signed, subject to town council's review and comment.
Motion so said.
Thank you.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next.
Next up, follow-up discussion on town vehicle equipment.
Okay, your last,
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, do you want to talk about what I want?
Oh,
about-
yeah, sorry.
Okay.
So hold off.
Okay.
We're going to back up to the properties again.
Yeah, thank you.
Is it on here?
No,
Or not
well,
on
it's
here?
not on here. No, I want to talk about, I wasn't on the board when we were talking about the blue house on the ridge. And, you know, I gave this some thought over the last few days. And, you know, I think it's only fair to the taxpayers of this community that, you know, any source of income that we can bring into this town to help, you know, drive the tax rate down or whatever, we got to do it. And I just think that there's no plan put in place to be moving buildings across the street. There's just nothing. And you know, we're moving forward with this auction, and I just think that that house, you know, I've heard on the street that people actually are interested in that property, and I just think that that we should move forward with selling it.
what's the street address?
1121 White Mountain Highway.
Okay, apparently it was not, had not exceeded the 3-year
Oh yes, it has.
Yeah, it has.
redemption period.
And then some.
So,
It's
Pardon?
way over.
And then some.
Oh, it has, you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it was held off the list because
It
there
was
was...
held off.
Okay, so you want to put it back on?
Well, no, I'm just bringing it to the table that you know, I've talked to a lot of people, and it seems like, you know, we're moving forward with this auction, and there's nothing in place. We don't know who's going to be responsible for the removal of the building. It shouldn't be on the taxpayers. We have nothing in place how the buildings are going to get moved. We have nothing in place on how we're going to fund and keep the schoolhouse to where it needs to be. You know, it's a town building, so I just think that, you know, it's sat in that same location for the past 100 years, and I just, you know, we need to make some relief for the taxpayers, and this is one way we can do it. So I'm just throwing it out there. I'm a new vision. I'm new on the board. I took a year off, and so this is what I'm bringing up. So, and I'll even put it in a motion that we should sell it. And if I get a second, fine. And if I don't, that's fine too. But at least the public knows where I stand with selling that piece of property.
You're saying
So-
sell by auction to add it to the list to be
Mhm.
auctioned? Okay.
So I'd like to comment on that. I don't agree. I agree that the town has done absolutely nothing for the preservation of the schoolhouse. There was, or I should say still is, a group of people that was working on a plan and actually came to the Board of Selectmen back in November of last year and asked for some buy-in on the board. And in November, the board did agree to some buy-in, and that group was working on a plan of what it would cost to move the building and restore the building. Time as a consultant who has well over 50 years experience in restoring historic buildings, kind of counseling the group on the best way to go and different possible options. However, like 2 days before. So let me back up. So in November, the Board of Selectmen had agreed with the Historical Society that they would put 2 warrant articles on. And they also agreed at the time to tear the house down. At that time, when the board agreed to that, there had been no research done on what it would cost to do the demolition of the house. So the Historical Society moved forward with the assumption that the house was going to be torn down, and there was going to be 2 warrant articles put on. One to transfer the schoolhouse itself to the Historical Society for $1, and also purchase the property across the street for $1. And that property, that had to go in front of the planning board, had to go in front of the Conservation Commission, and you were on the Conservation Commission when the
was.
Historical Society came and presented that and voted in favor of both, selling both those properties. However, unfortunately, a couple days before petition warrant articles were in, the board yanked both those 2 warrant articles off to go to the voters this year. So that's kind of where it kind of died, so to say. That group hasn't given up. They did just back off because without it going out to the voters to discuss, there was no fire anymore to get the plan together. That group had bought a website URL to put all this information on and get it out to the voters and share their vision on what they were trying to do. So that's kind of where that's at. So yes, the town has done nothing to try to preserve that building or move it or anything like that. However, there is a group that has got a price on foundation, on moving the building across the street. There was quite a bit of work going on behind the scenes that just stopped because of the warrant articles coming off this year. So that's kind of where that stands.
I think first of all, I was on the conservation to make things transparent, and I did ask these questions, but I didn't get any answers. So that's why I just left.
So the planning board asked the same similar questions, and the problem is you can't go out and try to figure all this stuff out if there's no buy-in from the town that they would even be willing to do this and sell the property. So that first initial stage was to kind of get the ball rolling. And then the plan was to present the cost, how it was going to be funded, the fundraising, and all that was being worked on behind the scenes, and that was all going to be presented.
So why do you think the 2 warrant articles were pulled?
The Board of Selectmen changed their mind at the last minute. I voted against it. And you can ask one of the other members.
Because I thought 2 Board of Selectmen were in favor of selling the Blue House, and then it seemed like at the very end, like even 2 weeks ago, somehow it got stopped. I don't know how, but you might go
back in whatever time frame it was when the Historical Society came before us, October, November, whatever it was, we had said yes, to go ahead and let the Historical Society have it. Then after we, and I'm not speaking for Selectman Lucia, I only know what was said here, neither one of us had realized how much land that came with that. We thought it was just that small parcel of land. After further investigation, my talking to Kathy and everything, found out that there was more land to it. That's a very desirable piece of property. That's a very nice, I'd like to put a house up there. I mean, it's a very nice area. And so it was decided that with everything else that was going on and buildings to be torn down and everything, that the property should remain in the hands of the town at that time, not go to the Historical Society. So that's what happened. Then the conversation came up 2 weeks ago at our last meeting about, putting it back to go out to auction. And I held off on it. And the only reason I held off on it was because I had had conversation with some folks at the New Hampshire Farm Museum who said that they thought it would be a great idea to move the old schoolhouse up the street
To where?
to the farm museum.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been told that education was not part of farming, and they had no interest in it. But when I spoke with them, the schedules for students back in the day was based around the farm people. When they had to, Aroostook County and that, they had to go and pick potatoes. You know, the school day hinged on a lot of that. I think the Farm Museum is a great place for it to go. I think that we need to look at, if anything, look at that option and sell the property at 1121 White Mountain Highway.
Why do you say, Ryan, it can't go up to the Farm Museum? Because you did give me an explanation, but...
Well, we had reached out to them, and at the time, people on the board, they said that it wasn't within their... The way the easements were done, and I'm not sure who you talked to up there.
Kagan.
But did he talk to the board? I mean,
it's all,
Kagan's new at the Farm
and
Museum.
Yeah, he's been there. It'll be a year in July,
So,
I believe.
That was...
Because
that was what we were told when we went in and discussed it with them, and all this stuff we had been collecting and was planned to be put on this website. But again, what I said at the meeting 2 weeks ago was, I just think that that property should be held off until further discussion and a more definite plan is defined. It's not necessarily hurting much of anything. It was held off before, Andy, when you were on the board before. It was held off for that reason.
No, it wasn't. It was held off because we got a Brownsfield grant because we didn't know if the property was contaminated. That's why it was held off.
And then we held off when we discussed it when Mike, yourself, and me were on the board. When we talked about selling town properties because of the schoolhouse. If you go back, there's a meeting where we held off then. That was before the Historical Society was even in the picture.
Okay.
So it's not... And I believe when Tom Gray was on the board, there was one point it was held off on too for this, but... I just think that you look at the big picture of things, and the schoolhouse restored and in the proper, what do I want to say, light or management of it could be a huge asset to the town, much more than a residential house there. And
well, I mean, I could understand if the town was in, a situation where, we could do something like that. I mean, unfortunately, this town, is hurting, and
the intentions of the Historical Society was to let the townspeople decide. That was the point of the warrant article. Just because it was going to warrant article, it was leaving it up to the townspeople to just make the decision. That's what the warrant article was going to do. So just because it gets put on a warrant article and it fails, and it allows the townspeople to make the decision. That was the intention of the warrant article. But again, it was yanked last minute. So.
And I mean no disrespect in saying this at all, because it is a beautiful building, but the townhouse, it's just sitting there. It's, if there was something for the Historical Society wanted to take over something, and now, that's...
So you want to give the townhouse to the Historical Society?
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, though, is there's another building, so we're going to have another building that the town's going to have to...
Oh, this would take it...
Lose out on in that to move the... I'm sorry.
It takes it out of the town.
There is no question, okay, in my mind, that this town should not be maintaining the schoolhouse. I'm all for maintaining the schoolhouse, okay? The way it sits. I mean, I know it has a bad roof. That it needs to be restored. Because it has got really good historical meanings to it, to the town of Milton. I have no problem with that, all right? I do have a problem with if we were in a better situation, if the town was in a better situation than it is now, I would have no problem with it. But clearly we're not. We're starving here, and I've talked to many people. I gave it a lot of thought over the weekend. I've talked to a couple of people that said yes, but I've talked to a lot of people that said that we just can't afford it. And, you know, it's a prime piece of property where we could get a lot of tax revenue off of that. And, you know.
Remember, you talk about tax revenue, but remember when you talk about tax revenue, right, there's what you're going to bring in for that house and what it's going to cost the town, right? So say that house is fixed up and a family moves into it. And I'm not saying I don't want families moving to Milton. I'm not saying that at all. But it's going to cost you more money because of the cost of the school system.
I mean, you so could throw that out there, Ryan. But what if you know?
So you make the argument both ways, but
I can think make it, because what if, you know, a retired fella wanted to buy that piece of property and build his forever home there, that would have zero tax impact to the school system. So, I mean, you can play it both ways, but, you know, I'm just, you know, I'm here, I'm voicing my opinion for everybody. I've talked to some people that want it. Some people, I've talked to a lot of people that didn't, that think that the town could serve better being auctioned off, and that's where I'm at with it. I mean, so.
All right, so.
Are you putting it in a motion? Or?
I'll put it in a motion.
There was a motion to sell by auction. I didn't hear a second.
Right
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
So we're adding that to the list of properties to be
Yes, sir.
auctioned. Okay. Now are we on to the next item?
We are.
Okay, at your last meeting,
Follow-up discussion of town vehicles and equipment.
Just to follow up with the board, at your last meeting, you talked about going out to bid for disposition of some surplus property. Here's a draft bid notice for the police vehicles. I haven't received the information for the public works vehicles and equipment yet, but as soon as I get that, we'll add that. We'll add that to this, and then it'll be ready to go. So, just for your information. If you have any comments or anything about it, let me know.
No, can we add vehicles to this? Because the town has other vehicles that can be auctioned.
Well, Public Works is supposed to be giving me a list of vehicles and equipment that they want auctioned. If there's other departments that have vehicles and equipment that can be auctioned, they can be added to the list, but I wasn't aware of any other departments.
Well, no, it's just Public Works.
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't see that here, you know.
Right.
So.
I'm awaiting getting their information. Are we down to...
So is the board good with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So now we're on other business, maybe?
I've got a few other items to report out. Bruce has been waiting patiently here. Bruce attended a meeting on Friday with the New Hampshire Department of Transportation regarding to the bridge projects, and he did a nice update here on the status of the bridge projects. Bruce, do you want to describe
Sure.
the outcomes of your meeting to the board?
I think the status report that I'm going to give you is good news, and isn't that nice? Last Friday, I went to Concord after I set up a fact-finding and status update meeting with DOT officials, especially from the Bureau of Bridge Design. So I met with the chief of the Bureau of Bridge Design and the administrator of the Bureau of Bridge Design, the project engineer, and then a couple of representatives from the Bureau of Right-of-Way. Here are some of the things that I found out. First of all, they wanted a contact list so that they could ensure that communications wouldn't be dropped again as they had in the past. So I wanted to let you know what this was in case you wanted to add someone or subtract someone from the list. I gave them Dave Owen, your interim town administrator, myself, and the chair of the Board of Selectmen. So keep that in mind as we go along here. I was given a draft of the municipal agreement. It's not ready for anyone to see yet, really. One of the reasons why they gave it to me was because it has some hard and fast estimates, and by hard and fast I mean what they said to me was they don't think that they're going to go up, and they're pretty sure about that. Estimates of the cost of the bridge and the cost to the town for its local match. They have sent the draft of the municipal agreement to the Attorney General's office, and then also on to the Executive Council for their review. Once that review is complete and they make some minor tweaks, they'll send it to us, and then we can review it and send it to Town Council before any action is taken on it. Another thing that I think came out of all that is they wanted us to know that they're the lead agency on this bridge project. It isn't the state of Maine, it's the state of New Hampshire. The bridge cost was discussed. It was learned that that hard and fast estimate is $1.475 million. It's not $3 million. There was a little backstory about how that was transmitted in error earlier to someone else, but really the answer is that it's not much higher than it was originally estimated at around $1 million or $1.2 million. $18,500 of that, of our match, let me back up just a minute. Milton's local match, which is part of that $1.475 million, is $154,450, which that's really good news. And of that $154,000, $18,500 will be payable at the time of execution of the municipal agreement. And the rest, $135,950, will be payable at the time of bid advertisement for bridge construction, which is slated to be somewhere around January or February 2021. Construction is slated to begin, and this is if everything, all the pieces fall together, but this is what the DOT officials have said to me. They are on board with moving forward with this, and I will admit to you they were looking to see how committed the town was to this project, and I think I let them know how committed the town is. So construction is slated to begin in late fall of 2021. I did ask them about bridge design and material types and what kind of impacts there would be on the abutting properties, especially the ones that are right there where the two pieces of land jut out. We looked at maps. I found that the DOT is leaning towards a box truss type of design that would minimize the impacts and further bring the bridge out onto the land. So that's good news because, as you know, there's a marina with a boat ramp on one side. There's several houses that are very close to the road on the New Hampshire side, and there is not a lot of room there. But I made sure I let them know that what's really important is that they need to keep the costs down. They need to maintain the former clearances that the old bridge had, and they need to minimize those impacts to abutters that are right there on the pieces of land that jut out. The promise that I got was that DOT indicated that they would, and that they would coordinate with the town during the process. There will be advanced communication with the abutters, and there will be a public meeting or meetings prior to final design to get the public's input. There was a discussion about the best access to the site with regard to construction materials, especially steel, and they're talking about how to get there on what road is the best way to go. Do we go through Maine, Champion Street, and then New Bridge Road, or do we go up Townhouse Road? The takeaway from that was that they would want to talk with Pat Smith, DPW Director, the police chief and the fire chief on these issues before they make any decisions. So I gave them contacts on that. Finally, DOT is going to be reviewing the actual limits of the right-of-way, which weren't on the maps that we looked at the approaches to determine the need for any easements such as slope easements or even right-of-way taking if it's required. But everyone around the table there felt that there wasn't much need for that, but they would have to figure out where these things were. They may need to do a survey. They did ask for the town's assistance if any easements or right-of-way were needed, and I assured them that we would. That's my status update for the Townhouse Pond Bridge project. We did talk about the other bridge-related subject, and that's the Winding Hill Road Bridge. And what I learned from that was that the bridge project is in the pipeline for reconstruction. It's still on the list. The schedule still says 2026, but they really don't think that's realistic, and I think you heard that from the town administrator earlier. So it may slip another 3, 4, 5, 6 years. DOT officials at the Bureau of Bridges are adamant that the structure is a bridge by definition. I think that both the DPW director and I had doubts about whether it was long enough to meet the definition of a bridge, which meant that it could get federal and state funding, bridge aid funding. But they are adamant that the bridge is by definition a bridge, despite its 22-foot long length, and therefore it's still eligible for funding. So the final takeaway here is that we really do need to, if we're serious about this, we need to make sure that we continue to put aside money towards the match every year. The match amount currently stands at $216,000 for this bridge. And it is about $1 million in total cost. And that's it.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you. I've got some other things to report out, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
First, I want to acknowledge Chief Krause and publicly commend him for, in effect, saving a resident's life recently. He recognized a snowed-in vehicle and went to investigate, and the resident, he saw him on the floor of his residence, and he broke the glass and went in, and the gentleman hadn't eaten or drank anything in 3 days. He was there on the floor and called for medical assistance, and in effect, I think saved the gentleman's life. So that's very commendable, to say the least. Also, the fire department had a fire. Was that yesterday?
Yes.
And you lost a barn and a garage at 214 Appleby, and 2 firefighters were slightly injured with burns on their hands, but nothing too serious, I'm told. So, and the fire was extinguished without any damage to the house, which was right catty corner to the burning structure. So that was a good good job extinguishing the fire without more damage. Although I'm sure we all rue losing old barns from the community. The town administrator selection process, I have a update for you from MRI. Today was the deadline for the receipt of the written essay questions from the applicants, so they'll be reviewing those, and then they'll be conducting telephone interviews with candidates, and I think their goal is to winnow the field down to 3 to 5 applicants to have the board meet and interview. And as you'll see, she's providing you some suggested dates, and my job is to find out which of those dates the board can agree to meet on to interview candidates.
That's what works for me. I'll be out of town.
Okay, so the last
15th or the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
the last 2 dates. Andy, I don't know what your work schedule is.
Any day's fine with me.
Okay, so you can get away on the 15th or the 18th?
Sure.
And
Yeah, I should be able to make either one of those days work.
okay. Well, that's what I'll convey to her then. Okay. Very good.
Of April?
April, yeah.
So I mean, I'll just need a commitment from her at least a week ahead of time so I can
Okay.
arrange my work schedule accordingly, so.
Okay, very good. Yep, we'll get it set up.
Do you need this?
Okay, I think that's all that's on my list to report out.
All right, next up, approval of minutes. March 4th, 2019.
I guess I have to, because you were here, huh? So
No, I'm going to abstain.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept the minutes of March 4th, 2019 as written.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Next up, public comment pertaining to topics discussed. All right, let's start with Lynette.
Annette McDougall.
Thank you.
Can I ask a couple of questions? Number one is, who does the board work for? Any of you can answer.
Who does
the board work for?
Work for the taxpayers.
Thank you. Have we not sold property in this town before and been stuck with a restaurant that's falling apart, crumbling in our town? Have we not? So nothing's been learned. I understand there were warrant articles that were pulled, and the public never got a chance to make any kind of commitment or thought or anything on that Blue Ridge house. Not a thing. I don't understand how you can sit there and say that you're talking from the public when you haven't heard from the public, number one. Number two is allowing the Historical Society to put together a plan is not something that's uncalled for. Plans are what we're supposed to be about. We want this town to succeed, yet every time something happens and a plan starts, somebody comes along and shoots it down. I thought you guys had more open minds than this. You make a decision before even
Lynette, I'm
listening
gonna
to the comment.
have to ask you
That's
to
enough.
start to wrap it up.
I think I've said it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Humphrey?
Just a quick thing, I know I'd like to see somehow through the town that we end up with email accounts for the budget committee, for the selectmen, as opposed to having to create separate accounts. And I think it's something we should be able to do through. It would make it easier in transition. I know Bob Carey is trying to get me caught up with all kinds of things, and it would be a lot easier if we just transitioned an email to a new member, the next time around, and instead of turning around and having everybody transfer the information to a new account. I think it would be great for the selectmen too, as well as the budget committee and the others. So I think it's something we can do now.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
plenty of reasons to sell that 1121 property, the Blue House. The reason you gave to not sell it, because a family might move in instead of a business or a historical society, it's like crooked and dystopian. I mean, are you really quite sane that we would try and keep children out of this town? I mean, that's a dead end.
Thanks. Tom?
Thomas McDougal. Just a couple of things. I think I heard you say that the town's internet, we had 50 by 5, but we were still paying $60-some a month. I think 50 by 5 are supposed to be free, so you might want to look into that. If we're paying, we should be getting that for free based on what we heard today from Atlantic Broadband. Now that we've got another grant for $5,000 to purchase some more recording equipment, again, about by twice every 2-month request, if we could encourage boards to record meetings, we'll be able to set up 2 recordings and have recordings downstairs when we've got meetings up here as well. And one of the reasons for tearing the houses down was because of safety. Money's been encumbered. Any way you could get a fence around the house by Cumberland Farms? That was mentioned before when we had the big discussion about houses. If it was a safety concern, then it should be now, and just rent some fence and put around it. Unless that would make people think, hey, there's something in there, we're going to climb the fence and see what's in there. That's a possibility too. But just, I noticed nothing's happened, but it was a safety concern. It'd be nice to put a fence around it.
Thank you. All right. I'm not seeing any more public comment, so I will close public comment. I'm just going to sign the minutes before we forget and move on. Administrator comments, Dave?
Nope.
You good?
I've already reported out everything I wanted to report.
All right. Selectmen comments? Start with Andy.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting me during the election. Unfortunately, I'm here to do a job, and I'm not going to make everybody happy all the time, and it's just the way it is. But my decisions that I make reflect on the taxpayers of this community, and if I upset anybody tonight, I apologize. But it's just, we have to start being more fiscal responsible, and we have to start running the town of Milton like a business. And if we can't afford something, then we just don't buy it, and that's the way it has to be. And I want to work with everybody, and I have a good working repertoire, I think, with all the department heads, and I look forward to working with them. And again, I want to appreciate everybody coming out, and if anybody wants to reach me, you have my phone number, and I'd be willing to talk to anybody. So that's what I got for tonight.
I just want to say congratulations to Andy and the rest of the appointees, elected officials, there's the word. Also let people know, a bunch of you have been using it. I have been getting emails. If you go onto the town's website, click on the link, and I do get the emails. Most of them I've responded to. There are a couple that I haven't had an opportunity to yet, but I will. But that's it for me.
First off, I know he's not here tonight, but just want to once again thank Andy Lucia for the past year and his commitment to the town and serving on the Board of Selectmen. And once again, I want to welcome Andy Rawson back on the board.
Thank you.
Looking forward to working with him and the entire board. And I just hope that we have a year where we are open-minded and we make sure we get all the facts before we jump to conclusions and make decisions. So, hoping it's going to be a good year. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of challenges. Thank all the voters who came out and voted this past election. The voters spoke, and I think we need to keep in mind how they voted. A lot of work to do. There's a lot of challenges. We moving forward with the position for the town administrator. So we're gonna probably in the very near future have some sort of transition again. It's going to be a challenging year. So we all need to work together and remember what we're here for. So, that's all I got. So I will make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You can, you want to leave them hanging?
Did you want to take one?